SLC is literally next weekend. You already know we gotta break down pool play. Yo, what's up, guys? This is Why Not Be Reckless, aka Why Not Be Casting. I'm one of the HCS commentators, analysts, and content creators, and we have another HCS report. And today we're breaking down pool play for Space Station Gaming's first major this year out in Salt Lake City, which is literally happening next weekend. In case you guys have been sleeping under a rock a bit, we did have 3 majors so far, where SSG have taken 2 of the 3 that have happened on land. FaZe taking the other one of the 3, being at London, and now we go into Space Station's house, where the last time we were here last year, Space Station came out and took it in their hometown. Worlds right around the corner. This is the final major leading up into Worlds. Can SL3 go 3 out of 4 leading into Worlds? That would be absolutely crazy. But like I said, let's break down pool play, where we're going into Pool A. And because Space Station Gaming did win the event, they come in as your #1 seed overall, and definitely the #1 seed in pool play. Sentinels did have to play through the qualifier and were the #1 team out of the qualifier, which netted them an 8 seeded spot. And Ascending Baseline were #1 as far as points available after the qualifier, so they were the #3 seed out of EU, which netted them the final spot here in pool play. But in Pool A, Space Station Gaming bound Eco, Legend, and Stellar. Sentinels, Boo Boo Dubu, Falcated, Lethal, and Precision. These 2 matched up back at London, and it was an amazing matchup where Sentinels were up 2-0 in the series, and then eventually Boo Boo Dubu stretching out his hand, trying to use the force to choke out Space Station Gaming. Didn't work exactly the way he wanted to, because eventually Space Station Gaming were able to pull off the reverse sweep to knock them out. Meanwhile, Ascend Baseline, very, very good squad. Like I said, as of right now, the 3rd best team coming out of Europe. The problem is that they're just in a pool that's going to be really tough, and to be honest with you, potentially maybe the worst team in pool play. I'm just being realistic here. It's going to be tough for Ascend Baseline to step up and make it out of pools, because of Sentinels and Space Station Gaming both being involved. And then whoever makes out that open bracket, I promise you, is going to be a tough matchup. The open bracket is going to be fierce, and it is going to be competitive. We'll see if Ascend Baseline can make it out of pool play and into bracket play. And maybe for the first time in a long time, we'll see 3 EU teams going into bracket play. Meanwhile, we have Pool B, Optic Gaming getting 2nd place so far at every single land this year. Dead Zone, Formal, Lucent, and Trippy do have the #2 seed over on this tournament, and the #1 seed as far as their pools. They'll be going up against a bit of their rivals in Quadrant, who came out, I believe, winning the qualifier to make it in, because Into the Breach were already secured a pool play spot by getting top 6 back at Atlanta. Quadrant and Optic, Glory, Sika, SLG, and Stipe Drone do have a bit of a rivalry. One of the last times Quadrant and Optic did match up, we saw Quadrant pull off a major upset at Optic's house in Arlington back in Season 2, and Quadrant breaking the record for the highest placing team in Europe against Optic, again in their own house in Arlington. It was crazy. They literally made history against our #1 seed in Pool B, did Quadrant. Meanwhile, Complexity, Breaking Shot, Huss, Rain, and YNOT definitely know in their hearts, and I feel like we know as well, that even though Quadrant are an amazing squad, Complexity are as well. So Quadrant are not locked at #2 here in pool play to make it out going to bracket play. Complexity can upset Quadrant, and on a really, really good day, and catching Optic on a really bad day, they could beat an Optic Gaming as well. Let's not forget, when Quadrant were undefeated, and again, undefeated in Strongholds back in Season 2, it was YNOT and Rain that came in and were able to upset them and give them their first loss in Strongholds. YNOT, he's the meta breaker, and just when you're about to count him out, that's when he'll come in and surprise you. So watch out for Complexity in Pool B, and also for whoever makes out the open bracket, because like we said, it's going to be tightly contested, and whoever makes out the lower bracket will make it in Pool A and Pool B. Next up, we have Pool C, Shopify Rebellion. Back-to-back third place finishes for them at London and at Atlanta. There's no way anybody's calling them a fluke right now to make it into Championship Sunday, but a lot of people questioning whether they can win on Championship Sunday. Cycle, Mental, Soul Snipe, and Suppressed. Shopify Rebellion coming in as the #1 seed here in Pool C. You guys already know how I feel about them. I've always been a huge fan of the Shopify Rebellion roster, going back to the first event when people were calling me absolutely faded for placing them as highly as I did. Well, who's the one looking faded now? Meanwhile, Into the Breach, Jimbo, Mighty's, Chick, and Wootum not only guaranteeing a spot in pool play over Quadrant, but they did it by beating Quadrant in a Game 5 in lower bracket round #1. Into the Breach, a very great squad, a dynamic one. I've always loved watching Jimbo. I think Mighty is really impressive to watch as well. He's so talented. Chick, come on now, from that old Quadrant roster is absolutely nasty, but my eyes are always on Wootum. He's on mouse and keyboard, which is obviously a lot different than what we've grown to expect to see in Halo competitive esports, and he's so much fun to watch. Into the Breach, I'm keeping my eyes on them. Meanwhile, you have Cloud9, Sab, Suspector, Septify, and one of the only real Rostermania's moves that we're seeing right now, with Cloud9 having Manny coming in as opposed to Tusk, which was on that roster for a bit of time. And it was so weird to see that move because I felt like Cloud9 were doing very good with their roster. They were pulling off upsets. They were making deep within tournaments. They were meeting expectations, or if not exceeding them. Meanwhile, Manny on that not Team Liquid roster, that one roster, was also playing absolute lights out as well. So it was weird to see any kind of swap whatsoever, especially this late in the season, right before Worlds. But we do have one change, and that, like I said, that's Manny coming in for this Cloud9 roster, who back in Atlanta, you have to feel for them a little bit. They end up in lower bracket round #1, and you run into FaZe in loser bracket round 1. You're sitting like, how the hell are we that unlucky to run into a FaZe roster in losers bracket round 1? Well, they did end up getting 3-0'd by Pure in winners bracket round 1, putting them down into lower bracket earlier than we have ever seen that FaZe roster, and it really ended up being unfortunate to Cloud9 because you ran into one of the big three that early in tournaments. So I'm sure Cloud9 have a lot left in the tank, a lot that they want to prove, considering how good of a year they've had, not only online, but also on LAN as well. Meanwhile, Pool D, featuring Pure as your #1 seed. And I think a lot of people may be having this, as one of their pools of death, even though when you look across the board, it's so competitive. It's tough to predict any pool. Maybe Pool C is the most unpredictable, but even at that, it's like, it's tough. But a lot of people were saying Pool D were their pool of death, even over Pool C, which I don't know if I agree with, because Pure coming as the #1 seed and FaZe coming as the #2 seed, obviously being a part of the big three. But that's really the way the cookie crumbled, because Pure, Cherished, Druk, Last Shot, and Talik not only finished in 4th place at Atlanta, but in FaZe's house, they 3-0'd them in winners bracket round #1. That's how they ended up in that lower bracket round 1, matching Cloud9 that we talked about back in Pool C. Pure get to go at it again with FaZe, Frosty, Renegade, Raw 2, and Snakebite, and you know that FaZe are probably going to be looking for their revenge. I think it might have been a situation where not only did Pure step up their game because they're super talented and really can beat any team in the league, but I also think partially maybe FaZe overlooked them a little bit. They're like, oh, going up, this Pure roster, this is going to be a win for us, and maybe got caught slipping a little bit. Just my opinion, not, I didn't talk to the players myself, just my personal opinion going into it. I think it was a bit on both sides. Pure stepping up big time, and FaZe maybe getting caught slacking a little bit against Pure. FaZe will look to get their revenge, and they won't be sleeping on Pure again going into Salt Lake City pools. Meanwhile, Native Gaming, APG, Barcode, Gilkey, and Tapping Buttons have continued to get better week after week. And it's proven a lot of times in these events, they end up in the open bracket, and due to some kind of technicality, they actually make it into pool play. Well, I believe back in Atlanta, they earned making it to the pool play. And on top of that, at this point, they also are not competing in the open bracket, so they want to earn their way into pool play because they've already earned it. They're already here. A couple weeks ago, they did get a big win on Optic Gaming. APG, on his former team that dropped him, ends up on his Native Gaming roster and getting a bit of revenge. That must have felt good for Native Gaming for two reasons. Obviously, APG beating his former team, probably a lot of emotions there. But on top of that, that definitely serves as a catalyst, as a reminder to yourself that you are the real deal. You can be in the conversation that everybody wants to put you in, you know, playing for top 8, playing for top 6, you know, going on a run to maybe playing, making it to a top 4. If Native Gaming are playing at their peak, it really feels like the sky is the limit, where they started off this season, let's be honest, pretty damn slow. So Native Gaming, the real deal, and in this pool D and pool play, we say it every event, but the league is as competitive as it's ever been. Anybody can win any one of these tournaments. I can throw a dart at my screen and make a good argument for either an Optic, a FaZe, a Rebellion, even a pure roster, and obviously an SSG and a Sentinels as well. It really feels like it's anybody's game, and obviously the big 3 are going to be the big 3. Rebellion, if you want to put them in a big 4, but watch out, because pool plays are known to have at least 1 or 2 upsets that are going to obviously decide the outcome of this tournament when going into bracket play. And I'll see you guys in Salt Lake City. You already know HCS has officially announced this as an analyst. I've had the honor, the pleasure to work with some of the biggest names and the brightest names in the actual business. You know, the likes of one of the greatest players of all times in a Walshy, you know, an Onset and Gaskin, who have been there, done that, a West Clutch, a national champion, everybody across the board. It truly is an honor to be able to work with them. And let's go on for one more run here. It's Major, it's Salt Lake City. I'll see you guys then.